All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the San Andreas Flight Simulator Online Flight Information System, or Office. This tutorial is specifically for air traffic controllers. If you're a pilot wondering how to use the electronic flight bag, please look above this button on the tutorial page, and there should be a specific video for you. Today, we're going to be doing a in-depth tutorial for air traffic controllers on how to use Office, the Online Flight Information System, version 1.4. We will specifically go station by station, starting with Los Santos delivery specifically, Los Santos delivery ground combined. Then I will go over those procedures with you today. First, either in-game or on your mobile device of choice, make sure you type in safsatc.weebly.com. That'll bring you up to this homepage. If you click in the menu, you're going to go to where it says ATC or Office ATC. You're going to see three buttons right here to start off. The first one is Generate Flight Strip for delivery ground, access Office version 1.4, that's only for us, and file a report. This last button is reserved. It's not linked yet, but in the future, if we want to submit pilot deviation reports or system irregularity reports, this would be the best way to do it, but that's something down the line. Generate Flight Strip is a button that you would press if someone was having difficulty figuring out how to input a flight plan in the system, just flat out didn't want to put one into the system, or you just needed to generate a flight plan for a random flight that got originated. However, if you have to, you just click on this button and it will link directly to the form that they will use to be able to put information in here. Something to note too, where it says remarks down here, this isn't just whatever you want to say. It's only pertinent remarks as to the flight. If there's nothing important to note, then just leave it blank. Now that we got that covered, it's time to get into the meat and potatoes of this tutorial with Access Office version 1.4 button. Now, while I get this set up, a key thing to note is please do not alter, drag, change any sort of formatting. There's complex code and functions and formulas involved in the sheet to make it work. Most everything is password protected, or excuse me, just cheat protected. So if you can't edit something, it's probably because you're not supposed to. So this is what it would look like for your clearance delivery station. That's where we're going to immediately start off. So this is only if you're working LSX delivery on 121.3. So this should be our air traffic trainees and our basically trainees or anybody who's volunteered to work delivery. Upon entering a flight plan, the form will go to what I call a data bus, which is a page that nobody can access. It's a separate page. And then it'll be displayed on here. The key thing to note, that is a mirror image. So do not alter anything on this page. So, just to kind of give you an idea, we're going to go ahead and file a practice flight plan here. We have one going outbound and inbound. Now, for clearance delivery, this is your primary screen. Your primary purpose as clearance delivery is to retrieve the flight plans. You're going to, when they call you for clearance, you're going to read it back, verify that it's correct, and then over here in column J, you're going to assign a squawk code. Okay, if there's any special remarks you put in there, for example, if the expected departure is 30 right out of Los Santos, go ahead and put that in there. So departing 30 right. So that way ground and tower will know what's going on. Now, if you're getting a little confused, there's a lot of flight plans going on. You can come up to this arrow right here, and you can filter by KLSX and hit you can get rid of all that and just put the check mark next to KLSX, and the only thing that'll show up are those flights. So you don't have to worry about seeing stuff from SSI. So when you have all the flights in there, you can filter it to make sure you can only see the flights that are going to be departing out of Los Santos. If you don't want that, you can just hit clear or select all and hit OK. Yeah. So this is your layout. You have, this will normally be hidden because this is where all the stuff is, but you'll have your call sign, type of aircraft, IFR, VFR, departure, arrival, requested route, requested altitude, remarks, squawk, and then the assign column. Assign is basically a handoff for the delivery controller. Something to note is if you have to make any sort of flight plan changes, it has to be done from this page, because all the other pages are based off this page. So if you wanted to change the routing, like for example, let's say we're actually departing 1-2 left, there is no arrival, so they obviously, or departure, so we can't give them the Valley 1. So you would change it here, so on and so forth. So British Airways 10 would call requesting IFR to Sandy Shores International. I'd say British Airways 10, Los Santos delivery, cleared to the Sandy Shores International Airport via the Valley 1 departure, Valley, as filed. Time maintained 4,000. Departure frequencies 124.3. Squawk 1234. Okay, so I put it in over here. Now, it's important that you listen for the readback. Once the readback is correct, you can tell them, hey, expect departure runway 30 right. Contact ground, Los Santos ground, when ready for pushback and start. So what you do is you come to this drop-down menu under Assign, and you select Los Santos ground. This will turn blue, indicating that this flight strip has been pushed to Los Santos ground. Just some facts about the sheet. This thing can handle up to 200 flight plans. I doubt that we're going to need 200 flight plans, but it can handle it. If you're sitting here and you're realizing that you have, 38 flight plans and it's getting a little hectic to see what's going on, what you're going to do is you're going to come up, select the first line, drag down to whatever line you want to hide. Okay, we're not deleting it. Right click on the cells on the left side and click hide rows. That way the formulas stay intact, but now you have a more organized sheet, so you don't have to worry about all that clutter. To unhide, right click, just click on deselect and then just click this little arrow right here and it'll expand it back. Now, something that you will see, and this is more what the destination air traffic controller will do, is once the flight plan has been completed, the airplane's at their destination, you will see this pop up. Remove, red. That doesn't mean come up here and delete it. That just means it's been assigned that it's out of the system. This takes it off the board for all the air traffic control sheets. All you have to do is don't delete it. You use the same method. Select row 2, right click, hide row. So it gets it off the system. And all our formulas are still intact. So remember, do not delete. Right click and hide if you want to quote unquote remove or hide a row. Now, the next station we're going to be talking about is Los Santos ground. That's who we just handed it off to. All right, so it's a little bit of a different layout than what the delivery looks like. Okay, so just to describe the layout, you got your Los Santos ground departures. These are all the departures that are leaving Los Santos, so they're pushing off a gate. They're pushing off a gate and heading out to the runway. Okay. On the bottom, you have the Los Santos ground arrivals. Those are the airplanes that have just landed at Los Santos, and tower hands them off to you, and you're telling them to get to the gate. Okay. So arrivals down here, ground departures up. Departures up here. Now, as you can see here on the right side, everything is this kind of tanned peach color. This is how your sheet should look when you first jump in here. Okay. To the right, you have what's called our Traffic Management System, TMS. What that does is this is linked to all the other airports in the system, and the respective towers at each airport will be able to update whether or not they're on a ground stop. I believe the options are no ground delay program or no delay program, call for release, edict, and ground stop. So none means that there's no delay program. You don't have to worry about anything, holding anybody at the gate to push off. Call for release means either you, delivery, or tower needs, or center, somebody needs to call the arrival tower and say, hey, I got British Airways 10. They're going to be there in 3 minutes. Am I good to release them? And either the tower will say, yes, go ahead and release them, or center will say, go ahead and release them, or they will say, send them at this time. Okay. The next one is called an edict. An edict is a estimated departure clearance time. It's basically a gate hold. In other words, don't push off the gate until this time. It's to manage traffic flow. And finally, ground stop is literally what it sounds like. Ground stop just means absolutely if nothing's arriving or departing. Usually that's an emergency or poor weather. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. So here, this is what it would look like. For our TMU up here. This shows none, departing, 30 right, visual, 30 left. If they were to change, the tower has to update this. Okay. So, when you are working as a sole ground and delivery controller, okay, the first thing you're going to do is when an aircraft calls for their IFR clearance, you're going to do exactly, excuse me, I'm going to hide this. You're going to do exactly what I just described that a ground or a delivery controller would do. So you would come back here, read back the clearance, put in your remarks, squawk, and then once they read it back correctly, assign it to Los Santos ground, and then you're just going to come back to the Los Santos ground tab, okay? And it should appear here. Now, if you're working with a delivery controller, then you'll just sit on this page, and when they're ready to be handed off to you, it'll pop up. Now, the cool thing that works about this is first come, first serve basis. So whoever gets assigned to this is whoever called for clearance first. What that means is if they call you for push and you don't see their flight plan on here, don't push them. Make sure they get their flight plan transferred. Another point is that, for example, let's say you have 6 of these strips, right? Make sure you push in order in which they called, because we don't really have departure times on SAFs. If you do it out of order, this strip system is going to get super complicated. So if number 6 calls for push first, say, British Airways such and such, hold position, your number 6 for or your number 4 for push. Okay? Only do it in order. So when British Airways 10 calls, they're going to say British Airways 10 or Speedbird 10 gate Alpha 14 ready or requesting push and start. As ground controller, you'd say, first of all, the first thing you're going to look at is right here at the TMU. If LSX shows red, you're not pushing anybody off the gate, because all you're going to do is create more of a traffic jam. So advise them that there's a ground stop in effect, hold at the gate until otherwise told. The next thing you want to look at is their destination airport. So in this case, SSI. If it's green, send them. If it's orange, call for release. If there's an edict, you got to get the time. And if it's ground stop at Sandy Shores International, don't depart them. Keep them on the gate. Once again, all you'd be doing is creating a traffic jam airborne. So in this case, we'll say Sandy Shores is showing green. Los Santos is green as well. So Speedberg 10, Los Santos ground. Gate Alpha 14, push and start approved. Face east on Alpha, advise ready for taxi. As soon as you do that, make positive contact, so radio contact, select accept. Okay, you see here, right here? This is telling you that you've made contact and you have given this aircraft push clearance. Okay? And you'll do that for each aircraft. Now, when they are ready to be handed off to Los Santos Tower, either approaching the runway or you tell them at the end of the runway, contact tower 120.9 or 5, select this to hand off LSX Tower. And that turns blue. This is going to remain in the system until the destination air traffic controller goes back to the flight plan page over here and selects remove. Okay, so you have to keep this exactly like this until the aircraft lands. Now, once the aircraft lands, like I said, the controller will come over here to flight plan and select remove. If you look at LSX ground, it completely disappears from your system. All you have to do now is go to handoff LSX Tower, the box, and just hit backspace once, and it resets it. Because if you don't, and another flight strip pops up, it's going to shoot automatically all the way through. So you want to make sure as soon as it disappears, you reset this. Okay? So now I am going to leave this. Now, for Los Santos ground arrivals, when the tower gets done handing off or clearing the runways with the airplane, they will give you the flight strip. Ideally, it should say something along the lines and remarks of where they're parking, but most likely the airplane's going to tell you. Once you give them the instructions as LSX ground to taxi to their gate, and they're there parked and shut down, You, as the LSX ground arrival controller, will go to flight plan and then find their flight plan in the system and select remove. You don't delete anything, you don't hide anything unless you want to keep it organized, but then you select remove. That's all you do. Don't delete anything. If you're going to do anything, just click and hide. And that'll remove the flight plan from the entire system. Okay? So to review, departures, arrivals, handoff section, traffic management system. When you get departures, it should be coming from the flight plan. If it's not showing up, that's probably because you don't have a delivery controller. Make sure you go to the flight plan, read the clearance, assign the squawk. Let me demonstrate here. Okay. Once you make contact with that aircraft, or the aircraft request push and start, verify Los Santos is green, verify destination is not red, and LSX isn't red. And then give them push clearance, select accept. Once you're ready to hand them off to the tower, select this first, then say contact tower 120.905, and leave it like this until it disappears from the system. When it disappears from the system, just select this one box right here where it says handoff LSX tower and hit backspace so it returns to tan. To review arrivals, Los Santos ground arrivals. Once the tower is done with them and they want to taxi to their gate in Los Santos, you will see a flight strip here. Once you give the taxi instructions to that aircraft, come to the flight plan page, find the flight that just was parking, and select remove. And once again, don't delete anything. If you wanna quote unquote remove it, just right click on the row and hit hide row. And one final thing, if you are the only controller on, there's no other controllers in your Los Santos ground, and that's it. You're the only person in server controlling. Don't hand off to Los Santos Tower. Why? Because it's just going to get stuck in the system. As soon as they take off and they're out of our airspace, you technically can't control them anymore. You have no idea if they're going to arrive at the destination. So just leave it. So leave it blank. Don't hand it off, or you can leave it in accept. Once the aircraft is out of your airspace, come to flight plan and select remove. So to reiterate, if you are the only air traffic controller in the system, nobody else, it's just you working ground and delivery, do not hand this off to tower. Once they are off the tower and out of our airspace, make sure this box is tan, so click it and backspace, then go to flight plan, find their flight plan, and then select remove in the drop down menu.